And we can never forget that when we talk about taste, it's really comprised of the appearance, the color, the clarity, the viscosity, the hue of the wine, and especially the aroma. And here we have a beautiful, fresh, clean aroma. There's a little bit of lemon peel in there. There's a little bit of sort of a mineral oil note that's very typical of the Semillon grape. That's the majority of this particular blend, along with Sauvignon Blanc and Muscadel. So we have a very clean, fresh nose, but the important thing is that you shouldn't just rush to put the wine in your mouth. You should look at the color because that's part of the pleasure, part of the enjoyment of wine. And of course, you have to put your nose to the glass and see what it can offer because the aroma can tell you an enormous amount about the wine. Against the white paper, it's a pale straw gold. It's very typical of the grape varieties in question. And it's very typical of a young wine because if it were an older wine, if, for example, you were to keep this same bottle, and you might for a number of years, it will gain in color. It will become browner in color. So let's have a taste. Well, there are no surprises. Sometimes there are with wine because aromatically you expect one thing, and yet when you put the wine into your mouth, you discover that there are other things present that you didn't really anticipate. But in this case, there's a freshness, there's a cleanliness about this wine that I think is quite refreshing. There's a medium weight. There's sort of a certain amount of flesh and body to the wine, but it's not a heavyweight wine. And then in the background, on the finish, in other words, after you swallow, you particularly notice the sort of that little bit of a bite, that little edge of acidity, natural acidity in the wine. And acidity is a key component. All wines must have a certain amount of acidity. This type of wine typically has an elevated acidity. In other words, one that's a little bit higher than normal. So in the aftertaste, what do we detect? Well, there's not a lot of length of flavor. In other words, it doesn't stay on your palate for a long time. Let's also note that when we talk about taste and flavor, the aromatic component in the aftertaste is absolutely key as well. So aroma in the taste of wine plays a critical role initially when you put your nose to the glass, and then at the end, after you swallow the wine, because much of what you're sensing is an aromatic sensation.